Welcome to Voices of Resilience, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, where stories of strength, healing, and hope come to life. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this space is dedicated to amplifying the voices of those who've turned pain into purpose. Each episode, we dive into real conversations about courage, self-discovery, and rising stronger than ever. So lean in, take a deep breath, and be inspired by the incredible voices of resilience, because every story has the power to heal. Welcome to the Voices of Resilience. I am your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons. Today's guest is someone whose work speaks directly to the heart of what resilience truly is. Tara Laurie-Manson is an educator, youth advocate, and the founder of the Youth World Education Project, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting positive youth development and social emotional learning. With over 25 years of experience working with children, youth, and families, she has developed and devoted her life to helping young people build confidence, emotional awareness, and a strong sense of identity. She's also an author, writing under the pen name Willow Grey, where she brings storytelling to life in a way that helps children explore empathy, perspective, and emotional growth. Her debut book, Maya and the Wonder Window, I hope I said that right. If not, she will correct it, is more than just a story. It's a tool designed to spark meaningful conversations between children and the adults who support them. What makes Tara's work especially powerful is her belief that resilience isn't just about overcoming challenges, it's about how we process experiences, develop perspective, and grow through what we face. This is going to be a meaningful conversation. Welcome, Tara Laurie-Manson. Hey there.
Hi, Miss Davina. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you. I've been very privileged to work with you in the last few years, and I couldn't think of a better guest, especially doing what you do and supporting youth the way you do. And you know that's my jam. So I'm so excited to have you on our show as well. And I'm going to just get it started because I know people want to know. Take us back. What first drew you into working with youth and families, and what kept you committed for 25 years? That's a long
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, it is. Makes me feel old, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I want to say it all started when I was about 21 or 22 years old. I was living in Detroit at that time and going to Wayne State for undergrad and got an internship at the Clinic for Child Study.
Mm.
So I had the honor, I will say, of working under a licensed psychologist as a group therapist for juvenile sexual offenders. So I was kind of christened in the fire when
Hmm.
it comes to working with youth. And something just sparked. And I realized that I didn't choose like youth development or working with youth as a job. I guess I chose it as a calling because if that was the point when I realized, wow, they actually are listening. They actually feel that I care. They actually want to share. And yeah, so that really is what started that feel of it. And then working as a teacher, doing intake with the Wayne County Juvenile Detention Facility. So I just working with youth just feels very natural to me. And that's what led to me founding YWEP. Because in all honesty, it's like you can work for a lot of agencies and so forth, but it turns into a numbers game. And I personally believe in quality over quantity. Um, and that's just how I've always moved with my students, whether I'm in the classroom, whether I'm facilitating, whether I'm doing, doing a conference. It was
Mhm.
always that way. I believed in talking, to children, not at them.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't their mama, but I was more like the auntie, because we know as educators, you're more than just a teacher in that room.
That's
You
right.
turn into the guidance counselor, you turn into the mama, and yeah, so all the different roles that you play. And I just realized that I had a knack for it. And I realized that my kids received it. And it only made sense to work with the families also, because you can't help the child without helping the family, because
Mhm.
that's the environment that they're in.
Mhm.
And yeah, what kept me committed, I believe, is when you see a youth or a child or family that you've been working with, and that teen finds their voice. Um, that parent understands you're not alone, and we're going to fight alongside you.
Mhm.
Um, it's just those little moments. I look at my ambassadors who literally started with YWP when they were like 15, 14 years old. They are young adults now living their best life. And that's what keeps me going and committed to the vision of doing something beyond my home, beyond myself.
I love that. A lot of times I'll have guests and I know them, I know of them. I want to say that I love and appreciate the fact that I've had a chance to experience who you are as a leader and someone who is walking the talk. Because I think what 2 or 3 years in a row I did Teen Self Love Summit.
Yep.
And when
Yep.
I first met you, you were the Village Project. You were pulling people together to create that village
Mhm.
that really envelops youth and really provides well-rounded services.
Yes.
So I didn't know you at all. And I showed up, and what I saw was okay, this is a person that shares the same heart for young people as I do, which made me want to keep coming back.
Right.
And I was so honored and thrilled that you allowed me to present to your youth and your vetting service, the quality of what you bring to the table. When you say quality over quantity, I know that firsthand, because everything that I saw you do, everything that I was privy to work around and see was on point. And your ambassadors also on point. You taught them well. And so, I believe in giving people their flowers. I just want to get that out of
Right.
the way. Tara, you are amazing in what you have brought to the community. And I know there's a lot of people, high impact people that I know personally that have worked with you and has witnessed what I'm talking about. So
Mhm.
thank you for what you do. Thank you for the 25 years, because
All right.
honest to goodness, that's commitment. Um,
Yeah.
so 25 years tells me that you're resilient also,
Hmm.
right? So when you talk about resilience, you understand, like I do, that it's more than bouncing back. You
Right.
said that, right? So
Hmm.
how do you define resilience in a way that people truly can apply it in their daily lives?
Uh, resilience is not recovery.
Okay.
Resilience is preparation. So if we think about most people, when they think of resilience, it's something happened and I need to get through it, right? Whereas I look at it as preparation, because the relationships that I built, personal, professional, um, the habits that you have, talk your own self off the ledge, learn how to remove negative self-talk. It's just all these different things that I feel I have learned along my journey, because my mom, is like one of the best human beings that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw through example. You know what I mean? Like I would always say, like when I'm talking about her, lead by example. And that's how I try to move. And so
Mm-hmm.
the resilience I saw, so I understood that it wasn't just about if when something happens. And it's not just about, you know, and also when I think of resilience, it's being okay with saying I'm not okay,
Mm-hmm.
but pushing through. Every day you got to get up, and every day you have to function. Every day you have to, whatever your lifestyle or how you move. But I know with me, every day I have to make a difference, some form of fashion. Whether it's writing letters of recommendation or being here on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
like you have to be purposeful. And I believe that, yeah, it's in the habits and it's in the self-awareness. It's in the support systems we build before we need them.
Mm-hmm.
Not just about something has tragic has happened. Now I have to be resilient and make my way. No. So I guess maybe I think of I'm always told like most people don't understand how my brain works because I think differently, but I believe it's just you got to move differently too
Mm-hmm.
and understand that tomorrow will come,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what you're going through, um, you still have to find your way in your time. But it doesn't mean just lay down and I'm out for the count. It just means maybe today I can't be involved in the community,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still doing things behind the scene,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess that's my long
Mm-hmm.
winded way
Oh no, no, I
of
love every
resilience.
bit of that. So you dropped
Mhm.
several excellent nuggets in that. I was trying to capture some things. One thing I want to go back to is that what you described as your mother modeled for you
Mhm.
something. And
Yeah,
I think as a person who is in the community doing the work that you do, that is something that you learned from your mother and that you model it as well. And so mentoring, I think, is something that comes natural for you,
yeah,
and your ambassadors are excellent examples of the fact that you are skilled in that area. It's a calling, like you said. So I want people to hear that we need people like you in the community. We need people who are, and we need to show up for people like you as well. If people listening to this and you have a young person and you see a YWEP event or something going on, you want to get your young person there.
yeah.
And I know over the years, sometimes some of those things start to wane because adults have things going on and they forget that their youth on a Saturday should be in a more productive environment, not
Mhm.
just at home kicking it or not in them streets, right?
Exactly.
So when we see people like you who are giving the time to do these things, because these things that these opportunities that you're putting out there for young people to grow and to glow, well, those are character and identity building, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that was one thing. When you said, my mother showed you resilience, she showed you resilience. I think you have taken on that mantle and you're doing the same thing as a community leader. The other
Mhm.
really big nugget you dropped is let's work on resilience before you have to be resilient,
Right.
right? I can't let that get by. That's huge. and
Yeah.
and and you're one of the few people that I've spoken to who absolutely echoes the same sentiment I have, in that resilience is a process and it's something you can learn, it's something you can
Yeah.
develop, it's like a muscle, you can build it, and not just a motivational thing that people throw out and be resilient. It's no, no, there's more to it, your life habits.
I agree. I really feel that the word is used a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but and you know, you can understand the definition of
Mm-hmm.
it, but it is about looking at children when they're younger
Mm-hmm.
and putting in certain seeds instead of, because I also, when you think about it, if we wait until something happens to
Mhm.
now we're resilient, that's when a lot of times you're doing it one blindly, you're doing it hastily, and you're also you just making your decision making is a little bit different than if you have certain skill sets. It's like um, think about hmm, building a house, right?
Mhm.
You don't wait until a storm comes to strengthen the foundation, correct?
That's correct. You have to
So
build it
that's the
already.
best example I could
Mhm.
possibly think of
Mhm.
what I mean.
Mhm.
And I believe in just the work that I've done beyond YWEP
Mhm.
is always about making sure the foundation is solid, making
Mhm.
sure that we figure out what the cracks are. And that's why we involve families in these instances too. But in also making sure that it's not just my angle of resilience, but those people who I do bring on board, as you
Mhm.
said, like we vet, those individuals are the ones that I have to make sure that they understand the assignment.
Mhm.
Because we've had that conversation in general where, okay, so you want to present at our conference. So here
Yeah.
is what I need you to understand of how and what the expectation is. It's
Right.
not just because someone is in this field or someone does this and that, that now I'm going to put you in front of other people's children.
Mm-mm.
I want to make sure that what we deliver is going to be received, but
Mhm.
also I want to be very conscious of my stewardship
Right.
with these young lives.
That's right. That's right. And so like I said, I experienced it. I know firsthand that you mean that. And I love that about you. And I love what I've seen. The teen self-love summit is only one thing. You do so many other things, and I know
Right.
that, and you can share whatever you'd like. But that's the example that I personally have experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to talk about identity because what you're in identity in the sense of developing youth, because when what you just said makes so much sense is that we have to really focus on the foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a great deal of the foundation is having young people understand who they are, whose they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think if more families understood building your child up from when they're very young, that you are descendants of, or you have capability. This is our own family lineages. This is
Mm-hmm.
what we bring to the table as a family, as a community, as a race,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. It's about strengthening. To me, that is identity is part of that foundation. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. But the only problem is so many don't know.
Right.
I mean, think about the child who comes from a household where they don't know who their father is.
Right.
So part of your identity, you don't know. Um, think about the person, I mean, think about Black people. Let's be honest right quick.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the lineage only goes but so far.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can do the swab thingy and all that
Hmm.
stuff and
Hmm.
get that kind of,
The
99,
result,
whatever
I
it's
know what
called,
you
the
mean, genealogy.
DNA. Yes, you can do that.
Hmm.
But realistically, there's a different kind of pride when you know where you come from. Growing up in Harlem, I'm just saying, like, you would have you would have different events, yes, celebrating Black people. However, man, when I tell you like the Hispanic Day parades, girl, you can't. I'm just saying.
That's
I
right.
know I'm from the Dominican Republic. I know I'm from
Right.
Spain. I know I'm from Puerto Rico. You
Right.
you understand? So it's like
Yes.
that's where there's that
Yes.
it sounds good, but that's
Mhm.
not the reality for all.
Right. Right. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
absolutely. I totally get it. And so along the way, every generation, there has to be people that stand out.
Yeah.
And yes, I think the popular ones, Martin Luther King, that we
Juneteenth.
hear that every year, but there's so much more. There's so much
It is.
more. And in every culture there's so much more, and not just the Black community, but like you said, and it really has to do with who stands up and takes responsibility for helping young people build that identity. You can raise
Right.
your hand.
Right.
You're one of those people. I may be in the classroom one of those
Oh,
people,
yes.
right? And so many others. And this is why we don't want to, we want to be aware of how important it is to keep some of this stuff within the education system,
I
because
agree.
for some kids it may be the only exposure they get. And
I
we have
agree.
generations where parents may not be as knowledgeable themselves. So you're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
I
um
do want to say one thing.
yes, absolutely.
Children who know who they are harder for the world to define.
Yes.
So a child who doesn't know that, they look for the answers in some and all the wrong places. We know how social media plays a role in the young people.
Absolutely.
But that's why I keep going back to my mom, because she's just such a dope woman. But
Yeah.
that's what it was with her. It wasn't me trying to figure out who I was the way many around me was in that situation. It was at an early age, I kind of was a different kind of kid. It was I understood whose I was. I understood who my grandfather was and the respect that the community gave him, and we were supposed to handle ourselves in a certain way.
Right.
Um, and again, that goes back to leading by example. But yeah, children who know who they are harder for the world to define. And my goal is those who don't know who they are, that's what I'm doing. I'm helping
Hmm.
you understand who you are. So
Hmm.
that's that
Hmm.
identity building piece that YWEP definitely has through and through,
Yeah.
in every aspect, whether it's a conference or whether it's our programs.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is critical. And I, that's another great point you're making about those who don't know who they are. If it's
Mhm.
defined by others, then that's going to be a problem at some point
It
down the line.
is.
And
It is.
that's why we have so many young people that either get lost emotionally and or they wear a mask until they have some sort of awakening.
Yeah.
um that
That,
is,
that's true. That's true.
it's hard. um what do
Well,
you think? Go ahead.
can I say one more piece to that? Because
Absolutely.
you hitting one of my soft spots.
Yeah.
Um, but I think a lot of times when we think of identity, people base it on accomplishments also.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
this person's accomplishments may not be as much as this, but part of it is like when we think about it, if we base everything on that, then that's why a failure is absolutely devastating. How many young people do you know that have looked at certain situations and cannot handle it? And therefore, we end up looking at suicide rate numbers. So
Absolutely.
when we're talking about identity building, there's so many angles that we can take this real quick. But in general, I just really want folks to understand that, because a lot of your identity is, people base it on your accomplishments. How many degrees do you have? How much money do you make? What kind of house do you live in? What kind of job, what
And that's
job do you
adult.
have? All of these different
Yeah.
things. Um, Whereas you have to be, at some point, learn to be comfortable in yourself. And it's not just the children. Let's be
I
clear.
know it's
There's
adults.
a lot of
That's
adults
crazy.
that are like,
Yes.
what? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of like a universal kind of
It
thing, no
is.
matter what the age is.
It really is, but I think it's important to identify that with youth and help them with that, because
Hmm.
adults are just simply people who grew up and some didn't
Yeah.
quite do it,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right.
Because chronology does not matter. I may be however old I am, but I'm actually the opposite. I'm older than I know that I am, that I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, yeah. By age, I'm 61. My mind, I'm 35, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
But it's painful when it's the other way around. And I
It is.
do think there's there's such a lack of knowledge and self-awareness that it creates such a problem. And
Agree.
identity is just the biggest part of it. But the other piece of that I want to go into next is emotional. We see so many more young people who are fragile, and you touched on it a
Yes.
little bit.
Yes.
Very, very
Very
fragile.
fragile.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk
Very
about
fragile.
that. And I see that as one of the biggest gaps personally right now. Is kids don't have the stamina or the ability to handle certain things that we handled when we were younger. But
Mhm.
what do you think that is? Like, what comes to mind with that?
I believe part of the gap is because they don't have the language for them. So I feel these emotions, but I just don't have the language for
Mm,
it. When I was teaching fourth grade, and I had a student, and he would get so upset. And I realized that the challenge wasn't that he had necessarily a behavior issue. It
mm-hmm,
was the fact of he could not verbally express what he was feeling. So,
mm,
and that's one thing that I realized with, like when we're talking about emotion management and that kind of stuff, it's just we we have to help them be able to label the emotions properly. Yes, we know what happy is. Yes, we know what sad is. But what does loneliness look like? What does
right,
embarrassment look like?
mm-hmm,
Um, and then we want to just chalk everything up to behavior when that's not the case. Sometimes it's just they don't have the language to actually express what
mm,
they're feeling. And that's simply it. So if I'm in a household and I look and I say, "Oh, whenever my brother is mad or whenever my mom gets mad, she yells and cusses or he hits a wall." So then yeah, it's going to be outbursts because we learn what we see.
right,
Plain and simple, like we learn what we see, even though there's some that will see that and say no, that's not right, but then there's some that won't do that. So I
mhm.
believe it has to do with them just not having the language for all of the emotions that they're feeling.
That's powerful. And it's like, I when you say that, as an English language arts teacher, the first thing I think about is when I'm trying to promote reading comprehension
Mm,
and they stumble on all the vocabulary words.
yeah,
So understanding that you can read all you want to, but if you don't understand the meaning of the words,
correct.
you're not going to comprehend the true context of what you're reading. And I think
Mhm.
that what you're describing is a great example of that. If we don't have the language for how we're feeling, if we don't know how to express it in an appropriate way, a way
Okay.
that gets you what you need, then what you're going to do is act out instead. And
Yeah,
and then that transfers into many multitudes of classrooms where teachers are having to deal with kids who dysregulate on a regular basis.
correct.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been there. And the only thing I could say, because like even because initially when YWP started, we did do the younger kids, and I had created a lesson, and it was based off of the movie Inside Out
Hmm.
to really dive into understanding how to express more than just happy, sad,
Hmm.
upset.
Right,
Like
right,
looking at anxiety,
right.
looking at depression, because depression is different than sadness, and children still can have depression.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so it's like just thinking about it, and what I realized is I was able to give them tools where and tap into the different kinds of learners, because we all know you're a teacher. So you
Hmm.
understand differentiated teaching styles, and you
Absolutely.
understand that there can be a whole playing field of learning styles in that same classroom, and you as
Hmm.
a teacher have to figure out, okay, I know she's a visual learner. Oh yeah, they're more kinesthetic, or oh yeah, they're more um, verbal. So you're really trying to figure out all of these different layers and tap into them so that no matter what, like whatever it is that you're teaching comes home to
Absolutely.
understanding.
Yeah.
So I just believe that we have to do more when it comes to the younger ones, because my goal is prevention. That's pretty much like where I'm at right now, because we
Hmm.
do intervention mainly with YWP, but that prevention piece of it is really understanding that we have to help our young people be able to identify, and also we need parents to understand the buck doesn't stop at the teacher.
Right. Right.
It goes on to the home. I
Right.
don't know how many parents when I was teaching would say, well, that's your problem from this time to this time. And I'm like, really? So you birthed this child. I'm doing my job. I still need you to do your job because that's your investment. And so, I mean, I was a different kind of teacher, but it was more of just
Right.
making sure that, fair exchange, no robbery, like just do your job as the
Right.
parent, and allow them, these kids to grow, but learn your child, number one,
Hmm.
and pour into them. Because it's
Hmm.
either you're pouring in, like you pouring into I don't know, like a Pinto, or you're pouring into a
Right.
Phantom.
Right. Which
And
one is
I
it?
always knew what you were pouring into.
Hmm.
But we just need our young people just to understand feelings more. That's why that movie Inside Out, to me, that's one of my favorite movies for children, to
Hmm.
understand emotions.
That's good. That's really, really good. So I think you've touched on this a little bit, but I just want to make sure that they know who you're talking to. For parents, educators, people listening out there, what is something simple they can begin to do to build emotional awareness within the young people in their lives?
So I actually had to take notes because I want to make sure I did not forget what I wanted to say for that. But
Okay.
name emotions regularly.
Okay.
So if something happens, you got to name it, identify it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's the same way a child can pick up something and they're like, oh, crayon, identify it.
Mm-hmm.
Ask open-ended questions. I hate yes and no statements.
Ooh.
That gives you no clues. That gives you no, we want to make sure you're communicating with your children, with your students, and model emotional awareness. I believe in modeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also create judgment-free conversations, because I always say, who am I to judge? My creator will judge me when that day comes, but who am I to judge? So
Right.
even with the young people, they know even to this day, they can still come to me because there's no judgment in our conversation whatsoever. Yes, they can say, oh, Miss T, I made a mistake. This happened, this happened. I'm like, okay, so what's the solution? I believe in the talking. Let's talk more about the solution and the problem. The problem you already did. So what's the solution? So I think those four things: name emotions regularly, ask open-ended questions, model emotional awareness, and create judgment-free conversation. So instead of saying like,
Yeah.
"Oh, how was school?" maybe say, "What was the best part of your day?"
Exactly. Exactly. Oh,
Because
I
we keep
love
it on the
that.
shelf. Right. Make
Yes.
it a little deeper, because then they have to actually think about that, or what challenged you today. Because we all know every day brings about different things. Sometimes it's just a really great day. Um, but maybe the challenge was, Mommy, I really didn't want to go to school today, but you made me go to school.
And it
So
turned
just,
out this way.
right.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, you're hitting on. So, with these four, you already know you just signed yourself up to come back and do another. We'll have to do another episode because there's so much in these four that you just named, and there's so much
Hmm.
to talk about. And I think that parents, teachers alike,
Yeah.
who are starting to feel burned out a little bit, starting to, because it happens, right?
Yes, it does.
Um, Fatigue builds up. Reminding yourself of these things, it really is refreshing. So I definitely, we're going to have to do another show, Tara. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I love it. Name it, identify. So um I'm going to
And
switch
that
gears.
that
Oh, go ahead.
boils down to we can't expect children to express emotions, or like we can't expect them to identify something that they've never been told what it is.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, I'm all in.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And this is good. So we have some folks that are. I'm going to take just a moment to acknowledge a couple comments.
Oh,
Kyla Seabrooks is an educator as well, and someone I don't know if you know Kyla or not. If not, I want to introduce you. She's a different so she works in the school district in Phoenix. But anyway, a
nice.
different type of teacher equals I said what I said. I like that. She's right. She's that educator too. I love it.
Exactly.
Actually, and Kyla, she's an assistant principal. Let me get that straight. First of all, she's an assistant principal,
Give her
and
props.
yes, and someone who is putting in work like you in the community. So I want to connect you too. Also, another comment: if it only happens at school and not at home, is it all lost? Yes. So our founder was asking that question. If that only happens at school and not at home, is it all lost? Um, I don't think so. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think so at all. I think that teachers and administrators that have contact with children, and I want you to check in on this as well, but my
Mm-hmm.
perspective is that when we reach a child and we model and we do what we need to do, there's a lasting impact.
Correct.
And even if it's done at home or not, I do think that we make an impact because I've had
Yeah. Agree.
so many letters, and I know you probably have too, so many letters thanking me and saying, I'm at this college because you taught me this, or
Right.
I'm doing this or that. So I don't think it's lost, but what I
Mm-hmm.
do think can be compromised, and I'm going out on a limb a little bit here, if it's not happening at home, then it compromises that familial relationship. I think that young people look for certain things, but they don't always know how to name that either. So, for
Right.
instance, example, structure. A
Yeah.
lot of kids come to school and there's a lot of structure that they're not accustomed to. And they'll tell
Correct.
me often when I'll say, for instance, my big one with my son, he had a bedtime for a very long time. At some point, you got to shut it down and you need your
Right.
rest.
Right.
That's kind of a tough one. A lot of households are people are working different hours. People are, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I know that's a tough one, but then I'll have the same kids say to me at school when I say, "Why are you sleeping during the day?" "Oh, I'm up all night. I'm playing games or whatever." And the thing that they'll say, "Oh, my mom and daddy don't care."
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they'll say it.
Yeah.
So it sometimes is perceived when things are not happening at home, it's perceived as a lack of care. And I think parents need to be aware of that. And that's probably farthest from the truth, but I do think I don't think that they don't care. I think they haven't figured out how to navigate parenting and doing and adulting at the same time.
Yeah.
um
I have to. I agree. I don't believe that it's all lost.
no. Mm-mm.
Because I've worked with over these 25 years. I
Mm-hmm.
have had the honor, I will always say, of encountering so many different types of children from so many different
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. And I do know, I have one directly in my head that they didn't have the structure at home, but they had a caring adult in their life, such as me,
Right.
that basically they could talk to me, um, and they received the guidance. And I think, even to a certain degree, their parents were appreciative of it because
Mm-hmm.
I think they didn't have the answers.
Right.
Because again, that can go back to, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know, in that realm, like
That's right.
if I don't know, if this is all I know, this is what I experienced, this is how I was brought up, then you think that that's okay. And who is to tell you that it's not? Because we all know that when it comes to parenting, nobody wants to hear someone tell them how to parent.
Right. Right.
Let's be
I
clear.
agree.
So
I agree.
with that, you have to find subtle ways to get the point across without offending. But I
Mhm.
never want to say that all is lost, because if there's a will, there's a way. And as long as there is a positive, let's be clear, positive, rational, caring adult in their life, they can still flourish, they can still thrive, and they can still blossom.
And some young people, I think, they can be like the eldest in of their siblings and be someone who's taken on full accountability and really a leader in the household and help parents. I see that a lot with my Hispanic children who
Right.
are first generation English speaking. And I mean, they're translating, they're doing so many things to be supportive in their household, and yet they may be more equipped to handle certain things because of their time in America and or their exposure to being able to speak the language better than their parents.
Right.
So I see them stepping up and taking on that responsibility with pride. But that doesn't mean that their parent is slacking in any way. Their parent is still providing a loving household and showing up as a parent.
Right.
So yeah, and to your point, there's a lot of variables. There's so many variables, and I have to always be aware of that as a teacher, and
Yeah.
I have to be a judgment-free zone as well.
Yes.
Um, and until a parent snaps off at me, and that's when I I ain't gonna lie. Until a parent comes at me sideways about what I should be doing,
Right.
I may have to have a different conversation because I too am a different type of teacher. However, I've not had anything turn out bad. It's always been because I believe communication is the greatest thing in the world. All you have to do is communicate. It's
Yeah.
when people shut down and refuse to communicate, problems don't get solved. I want to switch gears because
Okay.
we have to talk about this.
Um,
What inspired your book? And say the full name the right way so I don't mess it up.
uh,
Because Maya?
I want to say what inspired me in general is I feel like I'm in a new season of
Okay.
life.
Okay.
Um, so I wanted to basically take the work that I do with YWEP and make stories and curriculums to continue my work in a different way. So I
Mm.
do write under my pen name Willow Grey.
Hmm.
Um, and it's really just I want to continue to do. I want to do more. I want to do more than what YWEP can do. Because when we talk about books,
Hmm.
that can be everywhere. When
Hmm.
we talk about curriculums, that can be beyond an Arizona thing, you know. And I've it's funny because when I got my grad degree in educational leadership, the goal was, oh, I'm going to go and get my doctorate, right? And
Yeah.
it's going to be in curriculum design.
Mhm.
And then I said, I don't want any more student loans. So I kind of, because we're evidence based with YWEP and everything that I've learned, all the different trainings that I now give to like staff, it was, oh, you know what? I actually have the expertise, the education, and the knowledge to put together my own curriculum. But it was inspired by Maya and the Wonder Window.
Yes.
Um, and it was because I was doing school visits and it was an experience. Everything with me has to be an
Mhm.
experience. So it was an experience. It wasn't just me reading a story. And then I said, you know what? This is actually can be turned into a lesson. And then teachers who were part of it were asking for, well, what's the follow up? Is there an activity that we can do? And so forth. And I said, yeah, the curriculum will be ready this coming school year.
Yay.
Um, and it's for grades K to 2. Very, very experiential because that's my jam. Very experiential, and I'm excited for it because I feel like
Hmm.
there's always so much more that we can do. Like I look at you, Davina, and yes, you are a teacher by trade. We all know that,
Hmm. Hmm.
but you're so much more than that. You are
Hmm.
a resilient expert, expert.
Yes.
Plain and simple. And there's so many different titles and so many different hats that you wear. And we all move in different seasons sometime. And I feel that I'm in a season of I want to do more,
Mm-hmm.
and but in order for me to do more, it still has to be on my terms,
Right.
you know,
I get that.
and doing what I love and doing what I know. And yeah, so that's where Willow Grey came, and but it really started when, as a caregiver to my parents, uh, when we talk about resilience, um, I needed an outlet, so to speak, a mental outlet. And that's where writing came in, just writing stuff out, not like journaling, but just writing ideas out and so forth. And then when my dad passed away last year, it made me say something was just like, it's time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like, I feel like I'm in a truly new season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Willow Grey came from.
Well, and I love that. And we're going to touch on your personal resilience in just a moment. I want to just go back to what do you hope children and families take away from this story?
Hmm. Kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope that the world can just be somewhat of a better place because the book is about perspective taking,
Okay.
empathy, and kindness. So, with the Wonder Window, Maya is able to use it to see how a person is actually feeling. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so literally she creates this Wonder Window and it's magical, and she whenever someone it looks a certain way, she puts the Wonder Window up to her face to see what they're actually feeling. And I think part of it is, when we're younger, it's all about us and how I feel. But if we teach our children at an earlier age how to be compassionate, how to be empathetic, how to, and understand that just because something looks a certain way, it doesn't mean that that's what it is. Like there's
Right.
this scene
Right.
with Maya and Mrs. Brown at the bus stop, and she's looks through the mirror and understands, oh, she's not grumpy. She's just upset because her umbrella is broke and the storm clouds are coming. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about perspective taking, and that's what I really want folks to really understand and help their children grasp that concept. Help their
Mm-hmm.
children
Mm-hmm.
uh, to walk it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not just okay, we're reading a story, but
Right.
like for instance, one of the lessons for the curriculum is the feelings detective.
Okay.
So really understanding how to identify the feelings, how to identify what other people are feeling too.
And at a young age, that's a great thing to teach at a
Mm-hmm.
young age, because think how much more that will help as they grow in having that ability. Having the ability to be empathetic is powerful. It
Yeah,
shifts an entire classroom community when a kid is empathetic.
it is.
So I really appreciate that. I want to highlight a comment. Says, I'm listening in. I love all the points you're hitting. They resonated and at the same time gave me a deeper understanding of certain behaviors I've seen in some children. You turned on a light. So I just need you to know that, Tara. You turned on a light. That's huge.
Oh,
People that are listening and they're able to understand and relate. And I love that this person. Thank you, by the way, for your comment. This person is saying, "I hear you, and now I'm able to apply it," and that's powerful, and very, very important. So
that
very
is
cool.
very.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So personal resilience. I want to not be a downer, but I think you do walk your talk, and I want people to understand that all that you've been able to accomplish has not been just because you have free time in life and everything is just so perfect. Um, you are a true example of resilience yourself. And I have also seen and witnessed and experienced that. Um, so you've navigated a season of uncertainty yourself, and yet you continued your work. Um, what'd you do? What happened?
I prayed a lot. Um, And I was very intentional with who I allowed, uh, not physically in my space, but in my space.
Period. Mm-hmm.
Uh, it wasn't about who I was related to and who I wasn't related to. It was just really, um, over the past 3 years, I want to say 3, 4 years, um, the weight has been heavy because I've been a sole caregiver to my parents. And so I just knew that, again, that preparation, not just waiting for. So the preparation for me was, you pray a lot. Um, you trust that God has a reason. You trust that the strength, what it comes, um, and yeah, resilience was persistence for me,
Okay.
um, because I was not strong. I was not okay, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew that there were students that relied on YWP. I knew that we had staff that relies on YWP. So nothing stopped. It's just maybe I was not in me myself in the community as much, but staff was.
Mm-hmm.
So YWP was still visible, but I still needed to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, and the uncertainty, the landscape of grants changed last year. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
very clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
And schools, we know what y'all are dealing with, and nonprofit organizations are dealing with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so having to make some really hard decisions, but still pushing through. The end of our
Mm-hmm.
fiscal year is June 30th,
Mm-hmm.
and we've made it.
Yeah.
Um, but it really is prayer and putting one foot in front of the other, one step at a time. Therapy, um, which I believe in,
Mm-hmm.
and
Me too.
also
Mm-hmm.
uh, just knowing that God's not done with me yet, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that my purpose is still purposeful, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that all these ideas that I have, the world has to see them.
Right.
I don't believe that um, these visions are given to you just for your own head.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, you hit on it. I was going to talk to you about that. So, you're living a purpose driven life, and
Mm-hmm.
you're aware of that. You know that you're walking out your purpose,
Yes.
and I think it's definitely something that we don't want to take lightly. And I think other people have purpose and they haven't found it. Maybe they haven't discovered it yet. And for those people, it's something that if it keeps nagging at you, if it keeps showing up, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Um, when you're when you're called, you're gonna go, or you won't be able to live in peace. You really aren't. If it's something you're supposed to do, it's
Yeah.
gonna keep coming. I know
But
it's
also, I can say,
yep, right,
don't wait for perfection.
right.
Because if I waited for perfection, YWEP would have never been founded and actually serve as kids. The first, 4 years of YWP, that was my dime, not a grant.
Mhm.
That was my own money
Right,
that funded that.
right,
So it's not about waiting till it's perfect, because it'll never be the perfect time.
right.
But if it is pulling at you and it's making you stretch, that means it's time to move. And sometimes, and that's like when you're talking about like navigating through this moment, it's also about taking a step even though you can't see the entire path. It's about taking that leap and understanding my wings will form before I hit the
Hmm.
ground. So it is faith, I guess, more faith driven,
Hmm.
but that's at least how I've been able to look at things throughout pretty much my whole entire life.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to believe. You have to believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to act accordingly. Um, which that's another whole show, for sure. And it's not easy for a lot of people to see it And I get that visual too about the floor lighting up as you take a step. I think that was that the Michael Jackson video?
Oh yeah,
The
that was a
tile lights
moment
up. I
too.
always think about that as you're taking the steps. You have to take the steps or nothing will light up, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
Um, Final question. Um, if every parent, educator, and leader listening could walk away with one mindset about resilience and youth development, what would you want them to hold on to?
Okay, so I wrote down these two because I'm very intentional when it comes to what I want someone to walk away with.
Right.
Um, I would want them to remember that every interaction matters. Young people are becoming who they believe they are. Our words, expectations, encouragement, and presence help shape that belief.
Mm,
And one last thing, resilience grows in relationships. Before young people believe in themselves, they often borrow belief from the adults who care about them. Every child deserves someone who sees the light within them before they can see it for themselves.
mm. Wow. You said a lot. There's no better way to end this episode, and I hate ending it, but I told you an hour goes fast. Um, there's no better way to end this episode with that because uh, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that everyone shows up and helps young people build resilience.
Mhm.
Tara, you're doing it. You've been doing it for 25 years. That deserves to be celebrated. I thank you. I thank you for opening the door for so many young people to become leaders, teaching your ambassadors, just truly, truly being the example, being the change that you want to see.
Mm,
I love it. Love that I get to work with you.
same.
um, I want people to go out there and find your book. Is it on Amazon?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
It's on Amazon.
Okay, so and then there's in the notes, the information's in the notes as well. So find the book, get the book for every young person in their life that could benefit from that book. Let's start there. Look you up, give you feedback. This is streaming, like I said, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. So there's a lot of different avenues, and it's out there in perpetuity. It'll be out there forever. So I hope that people really show up and share with you their heart, and then help some young people, right?
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
I'm so happy you were here today. I thank you. For all listeners, again, look up Tara Laurie-Manson Youth World Education Project, YWP. It's out there. You can find it. Volunteer, get involved. There's so many opportunities to do what Tara's doing. You just got to look for them. And if something's been nagging at you, listener, I need to do something with young people, or I need to do, here's a shining example. So let's make it happen. I thank you. Please, wherever you're listening to this, like it, share it. You guys know the drill. Like, share, um, join, subscribe, whatever you want to call it, but do it. Okay? Do it. We appreciate you. And on that note, I'm going to say bye bye to our listeners.
Thank you, Davina.
Welcome.